Listen closely, because if this hits you in the chest in the first few seconds, it's not an accident. If a woman is deeply in love with you but refusing to admit it, she will fight herself harder than she ever fights you. And most men never realize this truth until it's already cost them everything. Here's the first sign she's denying her feelings for you. Her emotions leak out sideways. Not directly, not honestly, sideways. She doesn't say she misses you, but she accidentally texts you late at night. She doesn't say she cares, but she remembers tiny details you mentioned once months ago. She doesn't say she's jealous, but her mood shifts the moment another woman enters the picture. And when you ask what's wrong, she says nothing, always nothing. This is where most men get confused. They think love is loud, obvious, romantic, but real love, especially love a woman is afraid of, is quiet, controlled, and constantly denied, because admitting it would mean surrendering control, and control is the last shield she has. Understand this: when a woman is deeply in love but emotionally resisting it, she lives in a constant internal war. One part of her wants you, the other part is terrified of what wanting you means: vulnerability, dependence, risk, loss. And so she chooses denial, not because she doesn't feel it, but because she feels it too much. That's why her behavior doesn't match her words. She might tell you she's not ready, but she shows up when you need her. She might say she wants space, but she never fully disappears. She might insist you're just a friend, yet no other man is allowed to get close to her. And if you ever pull away, even slightly, her energy shifts immediately. Anxiety replaces indifference. Tension replaces calm. Here's the truth most men were never taught: indifference doesn't react. Love does. A woman who doesn't care won't notice your absence. A woman denying her feelings will feel your distance like a threat, and that threat exposes everything she's trying to hide. You'll see it in the way she tests you emotionally. She pulls back to see if you chase. She creates distance to see if you notice. She acts cold to see if you stay grounded or break. These are not games. They're fear responses. Her heart is already involved, but her mind is desperately trying to regain control. And here's where men usually ruin it. They push for clarity. They demand labels. They ask for reassurance. They try to force honesty before she's emotionally safe enough to give it. And when you do that, her walls go higher, not because she doesn't care, but because now her fear is confirmed. She feels exposed. What she needs in this phase is not pressure. It's emotional stability, calm presence, strength without force. If you stay centered while she's conflicted, you become the safest place in her world. And safety is what slowly dissolves denial. Because denial isn't strength, it's protection. And the moment she realizes she doesn't need protection from you, her feelings stop hiding. Now, here's something I want you to think about before we continue. Have you noticed moments where her actions felt deeply emotional, but her words tried to erase them? If so, you're not imagining it. You're witnessing love that hasn't been given permission to breathe yet. And in the next section, the signs become even more uncomfortable because they reveal how much power you already have without even knowing it. If this spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. At the end of this video, I want you to tell me in the comments which sign hit closest to your reality. Like the video, subscribe for deeper truths most people avoid, and share this with someone who needs to hear it before they make the wrong move. The second sign she's denying her feelings for you is this: she treats you differently than everyone else, but refuses to explain why. And this one is dangerous because it creates mixed signals that drive men crazy. With other people, she's relaxed, predictable, emotionally neutral. But with you, there's tension, intensity, sudden mood changes. One moment she's warm, open, almost glowing around you. The next moment she's distant, guarded, emotionally unavailable. And when you try to understand it, she gives you nothing real, just vague excuses, justifications that don't quite make sense. Here's the truth most men miss: emotional inconsistency is not confusion, it's suppression. When a woman has no feelings for you, her behavior stays flat, consistent, boring. There's no inner conflict. But when she's deeply attached and trying to deny it, her emotions spill out in waves she can't fully control. She's fighting herself every time she's around you. That's why she may suddenly criticize you for small things that never mattered before. That's why she might pull away right after a deep conversation. That's why she may go quiet after moments of emotional closeness. Those moments scare her because closeness makes denial impossible. Pay attention to this pattern: intimacy followed by distance. She opens up, then disappears. She shares something personal, then acts cold. She laughs with you, then suddenly becomes serious or withdrawn. This isn't manipulation, it's panic. Her heart moves faster than her mind can handle. And here's where her fear really shows itself. She watches your reactions closely, not casually, intensely. She notices changes in your tone, your response time, your energy. If you seem less engaged, she becomes unsettled. If you pull back emotionally, she feels it immediately, and yet she'll never admit why it affects her. Instead, she'll say things like, "You're acting different," or "You've changed," or "Is something wrong?" But when you ask her the same question, she shuts it down. Because admitting what's wrong would mean admitting how much she cares. This is a woman who feels deeply, but doesn't feel safe surrendering to those feelings yet. Another part men misunderstand. She may encourage your independence while secretly fearing it. She tells you to live your life, focus on yourself, meet people, but the moment you actually do, her behavior shifts. Her attention spikes, her tone sharpens, her emotional presence intensifies. That contradiction is not accidental. She wants you strong, but not gone. She wants you confident, but still connected to her. She wants emotional closeness without emotional exposure. And that impossible balance is exactly why denial exists in the first place. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth for you as a man. The more you try to decode her emotions, the more power you give away. Her internal conflict is not your problem to solve. Your job is not to fix her confusion. It's to remain grounded while she navigates it herself. When you stay emotionally stable, when you don't react to her push-pull behavior, when you don't chase clarity or reassurance, something powerful happens. Her nervous system begins to regulate around you. She feels calm instead of threatened, safe instead of pressured, and safety is the enemy of denial, because once she feels safe enough to stop defending herself, the truth surfaces on its own. What you're witnessing isn't mixed signals. It's love trying to hide and failing. And in the next section, you'll see how her jealousy, especially the quiet kind, reveals just how deep her feelings actually go. The third sign she's denying her feelings for you is the one she will never admit out loud. Her jealousy shows up in silence, not confrontation. Most men think jealousy is loud, questions, accusations, arguments, but when a woman is deeply in love and actively denying it, her jealousy becomes controlled, internal, and carefully disguised. Because reacting openly would expose the very feelings she's trying to suppress. So instead of asking who that woman was, she changes her tone. Instead of confronting you, she withdraws. Instead of expressing insecurity, she becomes distant or suddenly busy. And if you ask what's wrong, she shrugs it off, says she's tired, says it's nothing, but you feel the shift immediately. Here's the truth you were never told. Jealousy doesn't come from insecurity. It comes from emotional investment. A woman who doesn't care about you doesn't feel threatened by other women. She doesn't notice. She doesn't react. But a woman who is emotionally attached, even against her own will, feels it instantly. Her body responds before her mind can rationalize it away. Watch what happens when another woman laughs at your joke, when someone compliments you, when your attention shifts even slightly away from her. She may not say a word, but her energy changes, her warmth cools, her presence pulls back, or sometimes she becomes unusually quiet, unusually observant. That silence is loud, and here's where denial deepens. Instead of acknowledging the feeling, she criticizes herself internally. She tells herself she's being irrational, that she has no right to feel this way, that she doesn't care, that it doesn't matter. But the emotion doesn't disappear, it just gets buried. And buried emotions don't die, they leak. They leak through sarcasm, through subtle comments, through emotional distance, through sudden shifts in mood that seem to come out of nowhere. And the more she tries to suppress it, the more intense the internal pressure becomes. You might notice she becomes protective of her space with you. She positions herself closer. She reasserts connection in small ways. Or she tests you emotionally, pulling away to see if you'll follow, to confirm she still matters to you. This is not manipulation. It's reassurance seeking without self-exposure, because admitting jealousy would mean admitting desire, and admitting desire would mean admitting vulnerability. And vulnerability is exactly what she's trying to avoid. Now listen carefully. This part matters. If you react defensively, if you try to provoke jealousy on purpose, if you use other women to get a reaction, you push her deeper into denial. She'll retreat further, not because she doesn't care, but because now the emotional risk feels too high. Strength here is subtle. You don't explain yourself excessively, you don't overcompensate, you don't chase reassurance from her either. You remain calm, open, and emotionally consistent. You don't feed the fear, and when you do that, something shifts. She starts to feel foolish for denying what's already obvious to her heart. She begins to feel the gap between her behavior and her words, and that internal contradiction becomes uncomfortable. That discomfort is growth, because denial only survives when it feels safer than truth. And the moment truth feels safer than denial, she stops fighting herself. Quiet jealousy is one of the clearest signals a woman is emotionally invested far beyond what she admits. She may never say, "I'm scared of losing you," but her silence already has. In the next section, we're going to expose the sign that almost no one talks about, the way she emotionally prioritizes you while pretending you're not important at all. The fourth sign she's denying her feelings for you is the one that confuses men the most. She emotionally prioritizes you while verbally minimizing your importance. This is where her denial becomes almost invisible, because on the surface, she's doing everything she can to look unaffected. She says you're not that big of a deal. She jokes about how casual everything is. She reminds you and herself that there are no expectations, no attachments, no pressure. But her actions quietly betray her. You're the first person she thinks of when something goes wrong, the first person she wants to tell when something good happens. She checks in on you without a reason. She remembers your schedule, your stress points, your moods. She adjusts her behavior based on how you're feeling, even when she pretends not to care. That's emotional prioritization, and it never happens by accident. Here's the truth most men never hear. We prioritize what we're emotionally invested in. Time can be spent anywhere. Attention cannot. When a woman consistently gives you her emotional attention, despite denying her feelings, she's already attached. But because she's fighting that attachment, she has to neutralize it with words, so she downplays you. She jokes it away. She pretends you're replaceable. Not to hurt you, but to protect herself. If she admits how important you are, she admits how much power you have to hurt her. And that's the risk she's trying to avoid. Watch for this contradiction. She'll say she's independent, but she leans on you emotionally. She'll say she doesn't need anyone, but she comes to you for reassurance. She'll say she's fine on her own, but your absence affects her more than she wants to admit. And here's the key detail most men miss. She doesn't do this with everyone. Other people may get her time. You get her emotional weight, her vulnerability in fragments, her unfiltered reactions, her real self, slipped out in moments she can't fully control. That's not friendship. That's attachment under disguise. Now here's where things get dangerous. For you. If you start demanding recognition for this role, she pulls back. If you ask, "Why do you treat me like this if I don't matter?" she retreats. Because now her denial is being challenged. And when denial feels threatened, defense kicks in. The strongest move here is restraint. You don't point out the contradiction. You don't expose her behavior. You let her experience it. Because the more she emotionally relies on you, while verbally minimizing you, the more tension builds inside her. Her mind keeps saying one thing, her heart keeps doing another, and that split becomes exhausting. Eventually, one side has to win, and here's what makes the difference: how you show up. If you become needy, resentful, or emotionally reactive, she uses that as proof that denial was the right choice. But if you remain steady, present without pressure, strong without withdrawal, you become the calm center in her emotional storm. And calm is addictive. Calm makes her question her defenses. Calm makes her feel safe enough to stop pretending. Calm makes her realize that admitting her feelings wouldn't destroy her. It would actually relieve her. That's when denial starts to crack. Because the hardest thing for a woman to ignore isn't desire. It's the realization that she's already emotionally chosen you. And in the final section, you're going to hear the sign that exposes everything. The moment her fear of losing you becomes stronger than her fear of admitting the truth. Stay with me. The fifth sign she's denying her feelings for you is the one that ends the internal war. Her fear of losing you quietly becomes stronger than her fear of admitting the truth. This is the moment everything shifts. She doesn't suddenly confess her love. She doesn't sit you down for a dramatic conversation. Instead, her behavior changes in subtle but unmistakable ways. She becomes more consistent, more present, more emotionally available without ever explaining why. Because now, the thought of you not being there hurts more than the thought of being vulnerable. You'll notice she stops pulling away as much. The push-pull fades, the distance shrinks. She starts making small efforts to stay connected, checking in more often, responding faster, finding reasons to spend time with you. Not in a desperate way, in a quiet, intentional way. Here's the truth no one says out loud. When denial is breaking, protection turns into preservation. She's no longer trying to protect herself from feeling. She's trying to protect the connection. That's why she becomes more attentive to your emotional state. She senses when you're drifting. She reacts more strongly to the idea of you moving on. And if she feels you slipping away even slightly, her composure cracks. This is when you might finally hear honesty, but not in the way you expect. She may say things like, "I don't want to lose what we have," or "I don't know what I'd do if you weren't around," or "You mean more to me than I thought." These are not casual statements. They are confessions wrapped in safety, because fully admitting love still feels too exposed, but losing you feels unbearable. This is also when her defenses soften. She stops pretending she doesn't care. She becomes less sarcastic, less dismissive. Her tone warms. Her presence feels grounded instead of tense. The emotional friction you once felt begins to dissolve. And here's the most important part for you as a man. Do not rush this moment. Do not force a label. Do not demand clarity. Do not ask her to define what this means before she's ready, because what's happening now is fragile, but real. Love that survives denial is not weak, it's cautious. And caution disappears only when safety is proven over time. Your strength here is patience. You stay emotionally solid. You remain open without pressure. You allow her to arrive at the truth in her own time. And when you do that, something powerful happens. She stops fighting herself because the truth is already clear to her. She just needed to feel that choosing you wouldn't cost her peace. And now, one final truth you need to hear. A woman doesn't deny her feelings unless they're deep enough to scare her. Indifference doesn't create fear, love does. If you've seen these signs, you were never imagining it. You were witnessing a heart trying to protect itself from the very thing it wants most. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these signs felt uncomfortably familiar? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this video helped you see the situation more clearly, like the video, subscribe for deeper truths about attraction, connection, and emotional power. And share this with a friend who needs to hear it before they walk away from something real.